Okay, good morning. This is For Voice, and we will start with this transcript. This is going to be drill. It's technical in nature. We're talking about, I don't know for sure what we're talking about, but I think it's mines, some kind of mining operation. And we're talking about assays, is the way to pronounce it.
It is assay. Okay.
What'd you say?
Assay.
Assay? Oh, I'm good with that. Assay, A-S-S-A-Y. And it has to do with something with the mining or whatever.
Yeah, assay is good.
Okay, so I am plaintiff counsel, Mr. Simpson, and we're doing all deposition today, by the way. Oh, no, wait. Wait a minute. Yes, we are. So I've got you guys wrong. So, oh, no, you don't. You've got it together. I don't. I'm sorry. I'm plaintiff counsel, Mr. Simpson.
I am the witness.
I am defense 1, Mr. Reef. I am defense 2, Mr. Tingy.
Okay, let's read this in 15s for a while. I'll stop us and then we'll probably repeat some faster.
And it's Mr. Tingy questioning for the record. It is your contention that these assays represent some developmental work that you plan to do on the sovereign claims?
Yes.
Do you contend that the sovereign claims are still valid?
They are not.
But you still contend that the assays are part of the developmental program?
That's correct.
Assuming that you're going to provide us with some of those assays, will we be able to identify those assay reports, those assays that relate to the block that was gifted to BYU?
Would you please repeat the question?
From the assays you're going to provide us, will we be able to identify from them the assays that relate to the block that was gifted to BYU?
Assuming they are not developmental.
Correct, that they are not developmental.
I don't think they will.
You don't think the reports in and of themselves will identify where the samples were taken?
I think they will.
But you are not certain.
I'm not certain.
Would you be able to tell us where the samples were taken from?
Yes.
Is it your opinion that all 120 Hercules load claims are worth the evaluation that you placed on, or at least proportionately worth the evaluation of the block that was gifted on BYU?
I don't know. That's conjecture. I can't answer that.
Did you notify BYU that you were gifting this block?
No.
He didn't give it to them. You mean Mr. Bean?
Mr. Bean was gifting them this block.
Repeat the question.
Let me restate it. Did you notify BYU somehow that Mr. Bean was gifting them with a block of a mining claim?
Yes.
When did you do that?
It would be sometime in December. I don't remember exactly. It was either 89. I think it was 89. We're talking about the sovereign now, aren't we?
Yes, that's fine. Did you then subsequently notify BYU that Mr. Bean had re-gifted that same mining claim now, called the Block 13 of the Hercules mining claim?
I did not.
Do you know someone did?
I was told someone did.
Who were you told did that?
Mr. Bean?
Do you know if assessment work has been done on the block that was gifted to BYU?
Yes, it was done.
It was done. Did you do it?
Yes, I did.
Was the labor donated to BYU?
I don't know.
We don't have any further questions right now.
I just had a couple of clarifying questions here. You mentioned painting some posts of the Hercules claims.
Yes.
Okay, and did I understand you to say that the posts which were painted over were some that had markings on them?
Yes.
And were those markings put on there by you or anyone so far as you know on your crew?
They were not put on under my direction.
As far as you know, they were put on by some other persons not involved with your operation?
That's correct.
I wasn't quite sure about that. Now, the other clarifying question, in connection with the insertions of the posts, as you have described here before the opening time of January 23rd, 1991 at 10 o'clock a.m., you've described that to us. And my question is, when you're referring to these members of the teams lifting the posts up and putting them down again, what particular posts did you have reference to?
Well, that's kind of hard to say.
If you have any problem with the question, Mr. Simpson can restate it.
Do you understand my question?
The posts that I saw
Yes.
being removed,
Yes.
it was at the post that's on top of the cross. I don't recall which claim it was. It might be 9 or 10. I'm not sure at this time.
Oh, I see. I didn't quite mean that. But anyway, all right. what was the nature of the posts that you saw that were lifted up and down again?
I'll object that it is unclear, but you can answer if you are clear.
Do you understand my question?
No, I don't.
All right, let me try again. Do you know what a discovery post is?
Yes.
You're familiar with its centers and corners, right?
Yes.
Now, which type of post was it that you saw, or posts that you saw lifted up and put down again in your testimony?
It was discovery posts.
At that particular time on January 23rd, 1991?
Yes.
That wasn't quite clear in your statements. I have no further questions. Thank you. Mr. Reeves, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. You testified that Rodney Nelson was a photo interpreter and that he had some function, I believe, in helping formulate the plan for locating the claims in this particular area. Can you describe what his function was in helping formulate that plan?
Yes, he was the Kelch plotter operator.
And what is a Kelch plotter?
It's an instrument used for correcting vertical and horizontal differences from the aerial photography.
And how did his skill of Kelch plotter operator figure into the plan for staking these claims?
It enabled him to transfer the claims as I had drafted on this map in front of me onto a 9x9 photo print of the aerial photographs that we had previously taken on, I think, February 9th, 1990, approximately. They were subsequently used by the field crews for locating the corner centers and the discovery monuments of all the claims.
So the preparation of this map that we have marked as Exhibit 3 was part of the planning process for putting the claims on this particular area.
One similar to it.
One similar to this?
Yes.
We have the original and would be happy to provide you a copy of it.
Let me look at the original, if I might. It looks as though the original has the filing stamp on it, but it's in the wrong position.
It's on the front there under the BLM head, and I have a better photocopy than this one if you want it.
That would be fine, thank you. And what was the date the map marked Exhibit 3 was prepared, this CM4?
January. It doesn't have a date, 1991. It doesn't have a date. I don't remember the date.
I thought I heard someone testify or someone say that there was a date on one of these claims that showed a sample had been taken on May 14th of 1991. Is that correct?
It could be May 14th. That's correct.
And how did that information get onto a map that was prepared January 1991?
I plotted that information myself on.
Okay, so you're saying merely that the base map was prepared in January 1991 and that there has been information placed on that map since that time?
That's correct.
Are we referring to the notations at the bottom of that page, Mr. Reeves?
Yes, I think so.
Yes, that's what I was referring to. All this here, the last markings are located right there with the other specifics.
What again is the significance of the area that's outlined in yellow on the map?
That indicates that there were placer claims over load claims in that area.
And what size were those placer claims originally located?
They were 20.66 acres.
And how did they come to that figure?
If you multiply the width times the length and divide by 43560, you arrive at the acreage.
So the placer claim originally located was 1,500 by 600
Yes, sir.
and not according to public land subdivision?
They were tied into the public land subdivision.
They were not located according to the public land subdivision?
That's probably a legal concept there,
They are tied into the public lands.
if you know the legal answer.
I don't know the legal answer.
Mr. Lark, do you know what public land subdivision's definition is?
It's a 1 square mile area contained within a surveyed township, generally consisting of 6 square miles, the interior of which contains 36 sections.
Do the boundaries of the placer claims as originally located conform to the boundaries of the public land subdivisions?
Yes,
And you're saying that you have boundaries of public land subdivisions that lie 1,500 feet apart and others that lie 600 feet apart?
Let's have that question repeated, please.
You're
It's
saying-
just not yet. Okay, so do me a favor, readers, on page 7, the one before, where you are, there needs to be a comma in that number. No, one back. Where you
Yeah,
are.
mine has that.
Oh, okay. And
Right
maybe
here.
it's 443,560. And there is such a thing as lat markings,
yes.
LAT.
Where's that?
Lots of
I
survey
said last.
terminology on here, middle of that same page.
Lot
Yeah,
markings.
lat.
But it's
Right.
correct on there.
It is.
Yeah, it's correct. I said it wrong.
So I'm going to read that section, or we are going to read that section once again, and let's try it in 14, because actually the terminology is unfamiliar, but it reads quite well. So that's it. Let's go back to the first page, and we're going to read that same segment again. Page 1. Mr. King. 14.
It's Mr. Teeny questioning for the record. Is it your contention that these essays represent some developmental work that you plan to do on the sovereign claims?
Yes,
Do you contend that the sovereign claims are still valid?
they are not.
But you still contend that the essays are part of some developmental program?
That's correct.
Assuming that you're going to provide us with some of those essays, will we be able to identify from those essay reports, those essays that relate to the block that was gifted to BYU?
Would you please repeat the question?
From the essays you're going to provide us, will we be able to identify from them the essays that relate to the block that was gifted to BYU?
Assuming they're not developmental.
Correct, that they're not developmental.
I don't think they will.
You don't think the reports in and of themselves will identify where the samples were taken?
I think they will.
But you are not certain?
I'm not certain.
Would you be able to tell us where the samples are taken from?
Yes,
Is it your opinion that all 120 Hercules load claims are worth the evaluation that you placed on, or at least proportionately worth the evaluation of the block that was gifted on BYU?
I don't know. That's conjecture. I can't answer that.
Did you notify BYU that you were gifting this block?
No.
You didn't give it to them. You mean Mr. Bean?
Mr. Bean was gifting them this block.
Repeat the question.
Let me restate it. Did you notify BYU somehow that Mr. Bean was gifting them with a block of a mining claim?
Yes,
When did you do that?
it would be sometime in December. I don't remember exactly. It was either 89. I think it was 89. We're talking about the sovereign now, aren't we?
Yes, that's fine. Did you then subsequently notify BYU that Mr. Bean had been gifted the same mining claim, now called a block 13 of a Hercules mining claim?
I did not.
Do you know if someone did?
I was told someone did.
Who were you told did that?
Mr. Bean.
Do you know if assessment work has been done on the block that was gifted to BYU?
Yes, it was done.
It was done. Did you do it?
Yes, I did.
Was the labor donated to BYU?
I don't know.
We don't have any further questions right now.
I just had a couple of clarifying questions here. You mentioned painting some posts of the Hercules claims.
Yes, I did.
Okay, and did I understand you to say that the posts which were painted over were some that had markings on them?
Yes,
And were those markings put on there by you or anyone so far as you know on your crew?
they were not put on under my direction.
As far as you know, they were put on by some other persons not involved with your operation?
That's correct.
I wasn't quite sure about that. Now, one other clarifying question. In connection with the insertions of the posts, as you have described here, before the opening time of January 23rd, 1991 at 10 o'clock a.m., you've described that to us. And my question is, when you're referring to these members of the teams lifting the posts up and putting them down again, what particular posts did you have reference to?
Well, that's kind of hard to say.
If you have any problem with the question, Mr. Simpson can restate it.
Do you understand my question?
The posts that I saw
Yes.
being removed,
Yes.
it was the post that's on top of the cross, and I don't recall which claim it was. It might be 9 or 10. I'm not sure at this time.
Oh, I see. I didn't quite mean that, but anyway, all right. What was the nature of the posts that you saw that were lifted up and put down again?
Object, that is unclear, but you can answer if you are clear.
Do you understand my question?
No, I don't.
All right, let me try it again. Do you know what a discovery post is?
Yes,
You're familiar with end, centers, and corners, right?
yes.
Now, which type of post was it that you saw, or posts that you saw lifted up and put down in your testimony
It was discovery posts.
at that particular time on January 23rd, 1991?
Yes.
That wasn't quite clear in your statements. I have no further questions. Thank you. Mr. Reeves, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. You testified that Rodney Nelson was a photo interpreter and that he had some function, I believe, in helping formulate the plan for locating the claims in this particular area. Can you describe what his function was in helping formulate that plan?
Yes, he was the Kelch plotter operator.
What is a Kelch plotter?
It's an instrument used for correcting vertical and horizontal distances from the aerial photography.
And how did his skill of Kelch plotter operator figure into the plan for staking these claims?
It enabled him to transfer the claims, as I had drafted on this map in front of me, onto a 9x9 photo print of the aerial photographs that we had previously taken on, I think, February 9th, 1990, approximately. They were subsequently used by the field crews for locating the center corners and the discovery monuments of all the claims.
So the preparation of this map that we have marked as Exhibit 3 was part of the planning process for putting the claims in this particular area?
One similar to it.
One similar to this?
Yes.
We have the original and would be happy to provide you a copy of it.
Let me look at the original, if I might. It looks as though the original has the filing stamp on it, but it's in the wrong position.
It's on the front there under the BLM head. I have a better photocopy than this one if you want it.
That would be fine, thank you. And what was the date the map marked Exhibit 3 was prepared, this CM4?
January. It doesn't have a date. 1991. It doesn't have a date. I don't remember the date.
I thought I heard someone testify or someone say that there was a date on one of these claims that showed a sample had been taken on May 14th of 1991. Is that correct?
It could be May 14th. That's correct.
And how did that information get onto a map that was prepared January 1991?
I plotted that information myself on.
Okay, so you're saying merely that the base map was prepared in January 1991 and that there has been information placed on that map since that time?
That's correct.
Are we referring to the notations at the bottom of that page, Mr. Reeves?
Yes, I think so.
Yes, that's what I was referring to. All this here, the lat markings are located right there with the other specifics.
What again is the significance of the area that's outlined in yellow on the map?
That indicates that there were placer claims over the load claims in that area.
And what size were those placer claims originally located?
They were 20.66 acres.
And how did they come to that figure?
If you multiply the width times the length and divide by 43,560, you arrive at that acreage.
So the placer claim originally located was 1,500 by 600,
Yes, sir.
and not according to public land subdivisions?
They were tied into the public land subdivision.
They were not located according to the public land subdivision?
That's probably a legal concept there,
They are tied into the public lands.
if you know the legal answer.
I don't know the legal answer.
Mr. Lark, do you know what public land subdivision's definition is?
It's 1 square mile contained within a surveyed township, generally consisting of 6 square miles, the interior of which contains 36 sections.
Do the boundaries of the placer claims as originally located conform to the boundaries of the public land subdivision?
Yes,
And you're saying that you have boundaries of public land subdivisions that lie 1,500 feet apart and others that lie 600 feet apart?
Okay, we're now gonna do 10 minutes at 200. It's not a tape, but just so you know. And so we need to stand 15s, please. Starts with Mr. Simpson. Ready? Let's leave that question. Let me start over, sorry. Let's have that question repeated, please.
You're saying that you have parcels of land as much as a quarter-mile apart.
no,
What are you saying?
I'm saying that these claims are not tied into the corner sections of the public land surveys. They were marked on the ground in order that they may be separately traced.
I haven't asked you yet whether they are tied into the corners of the public land subdivision. I have asked you whether they were located so that the boundaries of the claims correspond with the boundaries of the public land subdivisions.
As far as I'm concerned, they do.
I am now confused now about the part of the legal subdivision.
Let's continue, then maybe we'll get this cleared up.
So the north and the south boundaries of the placer claims are 600 feet apart. Is that correct?
Yes, but I must check on it.
And you're saying that the north boundary is a public land subdivision and the south boundary is a public land subdivision of each of those placer claims?
It's within a portion of the lands survey.
Well, isn't everything that we've been looking at within a portion of the land survey?
Yes,
Do you know what a section is, a section of the public lands survey?
yes.
Can you tell me what a section is?
It's generally a square, usually a mile square divided by 4 sections and subdivided again to another 4.
Each section is subdivided into what?
Into quarters.
Into quarter sections then, and
Those quarters are divided into additional quarters.
known as quarter sections, is that correct?
That's correct.
And if one wanted to, one could further divide a quarter into 4 or more subdivisions,
I presume one could do that.
and each of those subdivisions would have a boundary line.
That could be established.
And I'm asking you whether the boundary lines of the claims, of placer claims that are outlined in yellow as originally staked, correspond with the boundary line of those subdivisions that we've just discussed.
No, they don't.
Objection. If you want to voir dire a witness about his expertise, well, I suggest you do so, but in another forum, not at this deposition.
He submitted a CV, and therefore I may presume that he has none.
Just a point of order, counsel.
Looking at, for example, the Hercules number 110, is that a placer claim or a load claim, or are there 2 claims superimposed one on the other?
There are 2 claims.
And each has the name Hercules 110.
One has Hercules 110, the other has Hercules Placer 110.
Now, I note a sample point marked 10227.113. Now, I believe that you have told us that that means sample number 10227 with an assay of 0.113. That was taken on May 27, 1991. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Was that sample taken on a load deposit or was it on a placer deposit?
On a load.
And how do you know that?
We sampled an outcropping.
Within that particular claim, you have no indication of a sample of a placer deposit?
Not on this particular map.
Well, do you know another map on which you do have a sample of a placer deposit?
No.
If you look at the set of maps provided you by the BLM, when you get back to your office, Mr. Simpson, you will find several examples of those there.
Which claims would have samples of those?
The Queen claims would have them for certain. I'm not sure of the others.
Can you tell me where the sovereign claims lie, the sovereign and the Queen group of claims, or where they did lie?
Approximately in the area of Hercules 30, 29, 30, and 31 approximately.
And those are the claims I believe that you did some underground sampling on, is that correct?
That's correct.
Were there any samples taken on the surface of those claims?
Yes.
And when were those samples taken on the surface?
They are indicated on this map. The dates are indicated on the map. Do you see them below each notation?
Oh, I see them now. Does the map show only surface samples?
Yes, only surface samples.
On the Hercules number 30 and 31, I see two samples apparently taken April 26, 1990. One is marked December 23, 1989. Would that be the dates that those samples were taken?
Yes.
Of the 10 to 50 samples that you had mentioned, how many of those were underground?
I don't remember at this time.
The samples that were taken in 89 and 90 that were just mentioned on the map, were they part of the 10 to 50 samples that were mentioned before?
Yes.
When was the last time you were underground on that property?
It would be this year approximately in May.
Is that the first time you've been underground since January 23rd, 1991?
No.
When was the last time you were underground prior to January 3rd, 1991?
January 23rd?
January 23rd.
I don't remember at this time.
Was it more than a few weeks or a few months prior to January 23rd, 1991?
Yes.
Now, are they part of the samples that are shown on the map?
Which map are you talking about?
This one right here.
Yes.
And could you tell me which sample you're referring to?
The sample that's on map CM4, it would be sample CMS4 on Hercules 31.
And what's the date of that sample?
12/23/89.
And that date was the last time you were underground prior to January 23rd, 1991.
Yes,
Why did you state placer claims in this particular area?
because there are some placer deposits in that particular wash, in Tumco Wash.
Are these natural placer deposits?
Yes.
Why did you also state load claims?
Because there are lode deposits in that same area.
Are all of the samples that are marked on the map samples from low deposits?
No,
Can you tell me which of those samples are samples from placer deposits?
it would be some of them within the yellow outlined area, but I don't remember at this time just exactly which ones they were.
Without getting into the difficulties that we got into a little earlier on development versus discovery, and perhaps to simplify the whole thing, it is my understanding that the samples that are listed on this particular map, this Exhibit 3, are the samples upon which the discovery is based?
Yes, together with recent samples taken in August 1993, not yet indicated on the map.
And that discovery is not based on any samples not shown on this map?
That's correct, if we include the recent samples that are to be furnished shortly, Council.
I don't have any further questions.
Were those claims within the withdrawal area?
They were.
I noticed the number on this exhibit is CAMC 14228. What is that?
That's the CA number that the Bureau of Land Management has designated for it.
And what was the purpose of filing the affidavit of labor in connection with Queen 1 and 2?
I believe that I had established some rights. I'm not sure that the withdrawal itself was valid.
Anything else?
Nothing.
Would you mark these? This is a series of sheets.
Could I look at those? They are all kind of blurred.
Let me see them. Mr. Reeves, have you seen these notices of location before?
Yes, I have.
Does that appear to be the sovereign 1 through 10 that Mr. Owens told me about that were first located in the Tumco area?
Well, I believe we're talking about two different locations. The first group was abandoned. Mr. Lark, is that true?
The first of the sovereign 1 through 10 group
Does that appear to be the location notices?
appears to be.
Showing you what has been marked as Exhibit 5, I'll ask you to look at that exhibit. Have you seen those?
Let me see what it is.
What do they appear to be? What are they copies of?
copies of location notices of Sovereign 1 to 10.
And those were signed by you and Mr. LaSalle.
That's correct.
Now, those are the second set. I believe you mentioned a little bit earlier that you haven't abandoned.
They are abandoned. They were amended.
Would you please mark these?
That's one exhibit, 6 pages.
One exhibit, yes.
Did you go through this, Bob? I didn't go through them all.
Yes, I have. I went through them. We have the copies on file.
Have you ever seen copies of those documents before?
Yes, I have. Let me just check them all out before all right.
Now, those appear to be affidavits of labor in connection with the various mining claims you have been discussing with us.
That's correct.
Starting back in what, 1986?
That's correct.
And going forward, do those appear to be accurate copies of the affidavits you filed in connection with those claims?
They appear to be so.
Council, we have a number of affidavits of labor attached to each of the claims exhibits. If you wish, we also have them itemized on this chart. Would you take a look at this?
Thank you. That is the same as my chart. Have you had a chance to look at it, Mr. Teeny?
We made it together.
Mr. Lark, have you had a chance to look at this chart?
Yes, we made it up together.
And is it your testimony that this chart accurately reflects the proper alignment of affidavits of labor to the claims?
Yes, sir, it does.
So I'm assuming then that there may be some affidavits of labor that you filed that I don't have copies of.
Yes.
As far as you know, though, you did attempt to file affidavits of labor on all of the claims we have discussed other than the Sovereign 1 through 10 from the time they were located up to the present.
That's correct, except of course for the abandoned claims.
Would you please mark these? Mr. Lark, I'm going to show you a document marked Exhibit 9 for deposition.
What was 8?
That is the chart that you handed me. I have attached my chart as 8A for a comparison and for your information.
This is a document from what council?
From the Truckee Queen Mines. Have you seen it before?
No.
And the location of the claim that is depicted here?
No.
Do you know Mr. Charles W. Arts?
No.
So, as far as you know, you don't have any interest in this claim?
No.
When the Sovereign 1 through 10 were relocated for the second time, were there new locations made for those claims, or did you adopt the location and the corner posts of these prior claims?
I don't know. It wasn't involved with physical labor of that location.
So that would be Mr. Owens that we would ask that question to.
Uh-huh.
In 1989,
I believe in 1990, I did assist Mr. Owens with the rebuilding of the claims for 1 to 10.
in 1990, and what was the purpose of moving them at that time?
They were rebuilt because they were knocked down.
We have Forest Service reports of fires in that area, which was the principal reason they were damaged.
The report I have, I just needed his confirmation, and that was indeed the case. Okay, our take, actually, hang on to that for a minute, because our take only has 13 minutes. There is no warm up from it. So we're just going to do it as a 13 minutes. So let's turn back to what we were just reading, page 12. And we're just going to read some of this again, starting top half of the page where Mr. Reeves comes in. Oh, I see them now. Okay, 15.
Okay, it begins with a colloquy and then a question by Mr. Reeves. For the record. Oh, I see them now. Does the map show only surface samples?
Yes, only surface samples.
On the Hercules number 30 and 31, I see 2 samples apparently taken April 26, 1990. One is marked December 23, 1989. Would that be the dates that those samples were taken?
Yes.
Of the 10 to 50 samples that you had mentioned, how many of those were underground?
I don't remember at this time.
The samples that were taken in 89 and 90 that were just mentioned on the map, were they part of the 10 to 50 samples that were mentioned before?
Yes.
When was the last time you were underground on that property?
It would be this year approximately in May.
Is that the first time you've been underground since January 23, 1991?
No.
When was the last time you were underground prior to January 3rd, 1991?
January 23rd?
January 23rd.
I don't remember at this time.
Was it more than a few weeks or a few months prior to January 23rd, 1991?
Yes.
Now, are they part of the samples that are shown on the map?
Which map are you talking about?
This one right here.
Yes.
And could you tell me which sample you're referring to?
The sample that's on map CM4, it would be sample CMS4 on Hercules 31.
And that's what the date of that sample?
12/23/89.
And that date was the last time you were underground prior to January 23rd, 1991?
Yes.
Why did you stake placer claims in this particular area?
Because there are some placer deposits in that particular wash, in Tumco Wash.
Are these natural placer deposits?
Yes,
Why did you also stake load claims?
because there are load deposits in that same area.
Are all of the samples that are marked on the map samples from load deposits?
No,
Can you tell me which of those samples are samples from placer deposits?
it would be some of them within the yellow outlined area, but I don't remember at this time just exactly which ones they were.
Without getting into the difficulties that we got into a little earlier on development versus discovery, and perhaps to simplify the whole thing, it is my understanding that the samples that are listed on this particular map, this Exhibit 3, are the samples upon which the discovery is based?
Yes, together with recent samples taken in August 1993, not yet indicated on the map.
And that discovery is not based on any samples not shown on this map?
That's correct, if we include the recent samples that are furnished shortly, Council.
I don't have any further questions.
Were those claims within the withdrawal area?
They were.
I noticed the number on this exhibit is CAMC 14228. Is that, what is that?
That's the CA number that the Bureau of Land Management has designated for it.
And what was the purpose of filing the affidavit of labor in connection with Queen 1 and 2?
I believed that I had established some rights. I was not sure that the withdrawal itself was valid.
Anything else?
Nothing.
Would you mark these? This is a series of sheets.
Could I look at those? Those are all kind of Word.
Let me see them. Mr. Reeves, have you seen these notices of location before?
Yes, I have.
Does that appear to be the Sovereign 1 through 10 that Mr. Owens told me about that were first located in the Tumco area?
Oh, I believe we're talking about two different locations. The first group was abandoned. Mr. Lark, is that true?
The first of the Sovereign 1 through 10 group
Does that appear to be the location notices?
appears to be.
Showing you what has been marked as Exhibit 5, I'll ask you to look at that exhibit. Have you seen those?
Let me see what it is.
Do they appear to be, what are they copies of?
Copies of location notices of Sovereign 1 through 10.
And those were signed by you and Mr. LaSalle?
That's correct.
Now, those are the second set. I believe you mentioned a little bit earlier that you haven't abandoned.
They are abandoned. They were amended.
Would you please mark these?
That's one exhibit, 6 pages.
One exhibit, yes.
Did you go through this, Bob? I didn't go through them all.
Yes, I have. I went through them. We have the copies on file.
Have you ever seen copies of those documents before?
Yes, I have. Let me just check them all out before all right.
Now, those appear to be affidavits of labor in connection with the various mining claims you have been discussing with us,
That's correct.
starting back in what, in 1986?
That's correct.
And going forward, do those appear to be accurate copies of the affidavits you filed in connection with those claims?
They appear to be so.
Council, we have a number of affidavits of labor attached to each of the claims exhibits. If you wish, we also have them itemized on this chart. Would you take a look at this?
Thank you. That is the same as my chart. Have you had a chance to look at it, Mr. Teague?
We made it together.
Mr. Lark, have you had a chance to look at this chart?
Yes, we made it up together.
And is it your testimony that this chart accurately reflects the proper alignment of affidavits of labor to the claims?
Yes, sir, it does.
So I'm assuming then that there may be some affidavits of labor that you filed that I don't have copies of.
Yes,
As far as you know, though, you did attempt to file affidavits of labor on all of the claims we have discussed, other than the Sovereign 1 through 10, from the time they were located up to the present.
that's correct, except of course for the abandoned claims.
Would you please mark these? Mr. Lark, I'm going to show you a document marked Exhibit 9 for your deposition.
What was 8?
That is the chart that you handed me. I have attached a chart as 8A for a comparison and for your information.
This is a document from what council?
From the Truckee Queen Mines. Have you seen it before?
No,
And the location of the claim that is depicted here?
no,
Do you know Mr. Charles W. Arts?
no,
As far as you know, you don't have any interest in this claim.
no.
When the Sovereign 1 through 10 were relocated for the second time, were there new locations made for those claims, or did you adopt the location and the corner posts of the prior claims?
I don't know. I wasn't involved in the physical labor of that location.
So that would be Mr. Owens that we would ask that question to.
Uh-huh.
In 1989,
I believe in 1990, I did assist Mr. Owens with the rebuilding of the claims for 1 to 10.
in 1990, and what was the purpose for moving them at that time?
They were rebuilt because they were knocked down.
We have Forest Service reports of fires in that area. Which was the principal reason they were damaged?
The report I have. Okay, enough of this. excuse me, do a 13-minute 200, and I'm gonna stop the recording and then start it again. Excuse us. Bad allergy day here.
Really bad.